lots of club golfers don't practice at all, or if they do, it's very rare. And then the members that do practice tend to work on their long game to the exclusion of their short game. And even those that work on their short game will probably tend to work on their technique and assume that the ball is in a perfectly good lie. Now, many of the shots we play on the golf course are played out semi-rough or deep rough or trees, or in the case of Woburn, you're in under the trees, under the canopy, and you're on the sort of pine needles and the dust. Do you ever practice those shots? The answer is probably not. So let's just get a little bit of help here. I've got a bucket up on the polted plateau as my little target to chip to, but I've put the ball down in the longer grass. Now, if I want to play a low shot, like a chip and run, I might be going over obstruction, but under some branches, for instance. The danger with a 5-iron is that because it's played with a straightforward arc that's quite wide, it's easy to catch the grass behind the ball. Or you get the ball, but with grass with it at the same time, so it gets a little bit of a flyer. So if I show you that, this is a 5-iron chip and run out of a little bit of light rough, and I want the ball to go forward, but it's very hard to control distance simply because the shallow angle of attack gathers the grass with the blade. So how do we counter that? Well, what we do is we turn the sand iron into a 5-iron. In other words, we let the shaft lean forward and we produce 5-iron loft. But the beauty of doing this, to get the shaft to lean, is a question of walking to my left. So here's a normal chip. If I go to my left, the ball is now outside my right foot by some 6 inches. My hands are way ahead, I turn the blade into square. Now, I've got the advantage of little loft, added to the advantage of a slightly steep angle of attack. So now the ball's off my back foot, I can pull the ball forward and not get the grass between the face and the ball. The ball comes out clean, and it's much, much easier to judge the distance, as you can see. So let me just show that again. When the ball's down in the long grass, go sideways to your left, get the ball outside your right foot, your hands will be way ahead, the blade is turned into square, and you just pull the ball forward, and the ball will come out sweetly and run. So you've got the benefits of a low shot, but that has some control on the first bounce. That 5-iron shot I hit first off, that didn't have control because the grass was around the ball and it was all about forward momentum. Now, that technique helps if we're in a divot. I'm just going to create a divot and I'm going to put the ball into it. Now again, if I had a lie as horrible as that, I couldn't get to the base of the ball with a chipping action or a putting action. I need to change the ball position. So what I've just done with that chip out of long grass works out of a divot. I step to my left, the ball's outside, my hands are naturally ahead, and I'm not trying to dig the ball, I'm pulling the ball out of the divot and making the ball run forward. You see the ball comes out and it runs, and I dealt with a pretty deep divot there because the club was coming down the steep angle of attack and I got to the back of the ball. So watch that again, that's a pretty horrible lie. That's lying down, I couldn't get a putter or a 5-iron to that. I get my sand wedge outside my back foot, I let the shaft lean, the blade must turn in, look crazy, the blade's going to look like that to you, but the blade is turned into square, it's got 8-iron loft, and all I'm doing is I'm pulling the ball forward. And out she comes on a low flight. You know when you scrape a potato with a knife, when the knife is vertical, you scrape the potato. So the sand iron would dig in and chunk, but when you lean the sand iron forward, it's like scraping a potato. So I tend to call it the scrape shot. I feel that I'm scraping the shot forward, and also I feel that I'm pulling the ball forward. It's almost like I'm dragging the ball forward, like this. If I do this, this is illegal, of course, to scrape the ball, but that's the feeling I'm getting. I'm pulling the ball forward. So, ball outside the feet, hands way ahead, blade turned in. One responsibility, pull the ball, pull it forward, and in she goes. And all of those shots have just about dead weighted to the target. Now, that's not great talent, that's just skill. If you know how to deal with these lies mechanically, it takes the fear from them. But I actually have a question. Do you ever practice these shots? Well, you need to, because they're going to happen on the golf course.